This is Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture's Wednesday webinar, What Social Media Platform is Right for You? Our presenter today is Michelle Walfrid, Communications Specialist with the University of Delaware. All upcoming presentations, along with all archived presentations, can be found at our website. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Mid-Atlantic Farm Credit. Since this webinar is pre-recorded, Michelle will not be taking live questions, but she has provided her email address and can be emailed with any follow-up questions. Thanks for listening.
And that's who I am. I've already introduced myself. My name is Michelle Walfrid. I'm a communications specialist at the University of Delaware. And what we're going to be doing today is, and if you could use the chat pod, some of you are extension agents, some of you are coming into this through Women in Agriculture, so you may have a relationship with your own agriculture-related business or your families. I'd be curious to know what you would like to get out of this. This is an introductory webinar, but still it's nice to know if you've got a winery or a creamery or a produce stand. That's helpful as I go along. I can kind of maybe give some examples of that. We're going to talk about why social media matters, and we're going to review some of the major social media platforms. So for the chat box, if you could, just as you think of it, write down the things that, what you hope to get out of this today. So there's lots of reasons. You could be strictly, I want for income producing. This is e-commerce. Addition to what you're currently doing, you may be an extension agent, and going on social is a new way of outreach. You may just simply have a cause, and you want to use it to advocate for agriculture, which is a worthy cause in and of itself, or other services. So it's just nice to know what you are looking at with social media. And what the title of this is, what social media platform is right for you. The you is plural here. We're assuming that it's going to be for you or your organization. A little bit about me, my background. I have a bachelor's of arts in journalism, so I'm steeped into the printed word, the old-fashioned way of holding a book or a paper in my hand. That's how I learned. My master's of arts was in liberal studies, and I actually my advisor was an English major, and she believed in the tried and true 200-page thesis, printed on paper, bound, put on a library shelf. And I argued with her and with my department to let me make my thesis a WordPress blog, and I integrated that with social media, and they agreed to do it. And as a result, my thesis was on a 19th century political cartoonist. Not exactly a hot topic, but because of integrating social media with my blog, I currently have over 68,000 views on that topic, which I would be lucky if I had 68 if it sat in a library. So social media is a very powerful component of it. So if I can sell a 19th century cartoonist, you guys can talk about your business, your produce stand, your creamery, your winery. You can outreach if you're an extension agent, and you can really get some impactful numbers. So I just mentioned that not to toot my own horn, but to show you that social and online delivery of materials is really where it's at. In 2014, I was named an e-extension fellow. That went to me as for my name, but really it was a team project. And what we were looking for as Delaware Cooperative Extension, the University of Delaware College of Ag was well-versed in social media, but we were coming into it late as cooperative extension. So that grant, that award, allowed us to really study best practices. So that's what we did for 1 year, and you're going to hear some of that today. And then on top of that, last fall, I took a University of Delaware Social Media Marketing Strategy Certificate program. And that's important. I bring that up only because it was a 15-week, 3 hours, so 45 hours in total but it connected me, for those of you who are extension agents, we are recording. Okay. It will connect you to your main land-grant university. I can't stress that enough, that being able to talk to the main university, not just my department, not just my college, but what is my university doing in terms of social media. And you don't always want to be a rogue agent and just do what you want to do, because in the case of University of Delaware, there were new branding initiatives that they were starting. So this kind of put me in touch with the power brokers at University of Delaware social media. So it was a really good experience. And then what I do professionally on social media is I'm on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. I also do Twitter for UD Extension, for Carville UD. That's the actual building that I'm in. I am not on main campus. So we have a 344-acre research facility here, an ag experimental station. And I also tweet for Delaware 4-H. I also do it for the college, the main college, but I do it purely as support. The people up on main campus take care of that. On Facebook, I operate Delaware 4-H, UD Extension. I operate a UD alumni page. I also do some work for some local politicians, and I have some other personal projects I use Facebook with. And then on Instagram, I'm on Delaware 4-H. That's the handle for that. I'm the main operator for that account, and then my own personal Instagram account. Many of the slides that you're going to see here today are courtesy of the social media marketing strategy course I took, and I've just updated the data on them. So let's get started. Why does social media matter? And I'm going to show you a film now. If you can't, for some reason you have a sound issue, you can Google this later. I'm going to type in, it's called Socialnomics by Eric Qualman. And you could just Google that on YouTube or YouTube it. But I'm going to play this for you right now. It's just a short video. If you don't hear sound, it's not that. Hopefully you just see the visuals to it. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. And
Around the world.
This is important coming up. That curating is a big word. Okay, hopefully most of you got to see that. Are there any comments, any thoughts about what you saw? There are some statistics that continue to surprise me. I will tell you that one of them is, let's see if you guys share what some of you might think. The one is, do you have a brand? This could be a personal brand or a professional brand. And that's actually going to be a talk on, May 27th. That's going to be one of our webinar topics. One of the things I found interesting was the attention span of human beings, 6 seconds or 7 seconds. I think a goldfish was 8. Back in the print days, I was always told if you have a brochure on the wall, if you can't capture that person's attention in 3 seconds, you're going to lose them. So on social media, we've improved a little bit to 7 seconds. Yes, I will. I will post that hyperlink. And in fact, I've got it up here. Eric Qualman is considered what a lot of people call a social media guru. And he has his own channel on YouTube. It's Eric with a K. And let me just find that right now. Well, there, let's see, no, that's not it. We want social, that's in Russian. Oh, there we go. I found it. Let me post that for you. He's made a 2015 one, but I just like the 2014 better. It's almost identical. It's just better music. The attention span. The other thing is who people on social media are believing. And what his figure was, 93% of shoppers believe online reviews, and 90% of us get our information from our peers. This actually aligns beautifully with the research that the Center for Food Integrity is doing. There is a general mistrust of government, of anything big, of anything that's authority, and so they're trusting each other. We're trusting each other, and especially online. And most of you know agriculture takes a big hit, and not in a good way on social media. So I think that's very, very interesting. So who does the public believe? So we need, it's one of the reasons that Extension needs to be on social media, as well as any of you that have an agriculture-related business or interest. We need the advocacy. That's where people are getting their information. Now, going forward, before we actually start looking at the different programs, I want you to think about who your target audience is. And you need to have some kind of a target audience identified to be successful on social media. And you look at this picture and you go, well, I want them all. I want everybody to think I'm great. I want everybody to buy my product. I want everybody to be influenced and impacted by what I have to say or what my research is. And that's all well and good, but it's not a one-stop shop type of thing. So I'll use a fishing analogy. If you go to fish, some of you might fish in an ocean, some of you might fish in a pond or a bay or a river or a stream, but you'll choose different places to fish. When you fish, you're going to use different bait, and you're going after different fish. So social media, when you're looking at these platforms, and this is very, very important, the fish is your target audience. Your customers. Who are you trying to bring in new? If you're an extension agent, you probably already have an email list that you go to. You have a list of fans that are on social media. How do you get new people? How are you going to broaden out or diversify your audience? Your bait is your content, your social media content. And you're not, and I cannot stress this more, you cannot use the same bait in every body of water. You need chicken meat to get crabs. You need, I don't know, because I'm not a fishing person, but you need different bait to catch different fish. One publish once and publish everywhere identically on social media is a very bad strategy. And of course, your body of water where you're going to fish is your social media platform. All right, so enough of that, and let's just actually take a look at the platforms. This is a little out of date, but I just liked it because it was just a cool letterpress type of graphic. These are the big six. You may have people telling you, oh, if you're not on Reddit, you're missing the boat, or you're not on such and such. Don't let anybody tell you that. You need to tailor where you're going to go on social media to the audience that you are trying to attract. And your audiences are in different places on these. Pinterest is one of the six. I have accounts on all of these. Pinterest is the one that personally, I've let slack. It's the one that I use the least because that's just not my scene. And as far as the University of Delaware is concerned, they don't want us creating extension Pinterest accounts. We can create a board on their page. So we're governed a little bit by our university not to go in that direction. Twitter is one that I personally like a lot. These figures down at the bottom, these are out of date. I will show you the updated ones. So these 70 million, 560 million, these have all just almost doubled. But Twitter is a microblogging, very short, succinct, very mobile friendly. I think all of us know what Facebook is on. It's the big daddy, it's the Mac daddy of them all. Instagram is growing. You will hear people say, oh, Instagram is bigger than Twitter and Twitter is bigger than Instagram. That doesn't really mean anything because you have to look at who's on these platforms. So we'll talk about that. Google Plus was Google's answer to Facebook. It operates very, very similarly in that you have private accounts and you can also have business pages. And then there's LinkedIn, which is professional. I think of it as like Facebook, but without the kitty cat videos. It's very, very professional. This is where a lot of job seekers go, but it's become a lot more than that. So we're going to talk about these and some more. So let's just go right back to Facebook. Okay, bye, Kathy. Facebook has 1.39 billion users. 107, these are recent updates, 107 billion are using them on a mobile device. I'm not going to read all these statistics. What I think is notable about Facebook are the demographics, 25 to 34 years of age, 29%, so almost 30%. Teens, you'll hear, oh, teens aren't in Facebook anymore. Yes, they are. It's not a big percentage, but they're still there. They go on. They may not go on it every day, but they're still on it. They might not admit it now because their grandmothers are on it. But you do, and then of course the remainder of this are people who are older. It would be my demographic, baby boomers and older. Facebook has really gotten popular, or it did in the last few years, because it had Facebook pages. And Facebook pages were just a fantastic platform. I've had people say, oh, I'm not even going to bother with a website because I'm just going to go on Facebook. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Facebook pages have drastically changed. It's a completely new dynamic, a completely new paradigm. And I'm curious how many of you have some type of a Facebook page. If you have a Facebook page of some sort, now not a private account, but a page like for your church or for some type of business, you've seen this has become very, very challenging. And we're going to be doing a session. Unfortunately, it's not until October, but figuring out how to figure out Facebook pages is really challenging now for people. But the thing about a Facebook page is you must have a personal Facebook account in order to create a Facebook page. So some people don't like that. They're a little squeamish about their privacy. Dee Haslett here has mentioned privacy, and people avoid Facebook because of that. If you want to have a Facebook page, but you really don't want to have a Facebook account, you have to create the account, but you don't have to use it, and you don't have to share anything on it. And you want to make sure there's a lot of resources out there. You can just Google them on how to tighten up your privacy settings. You don't have to put a picture of yourself. It could be a picture of a flower. That could be your profile picture. So it's up to you what you want to share on your personal Facebook page. If you have a personal Facebook page, really update your privacy settings. They change them all the time. But unfortunately, you do need to have a private personal account in order to open up a public or a business page. So that's the only way that you get into that. Twitter. Twitter is almost as big as Facebook. It has approximately 1 billion users. 35 million of them are in China. And you want to look at your international audience. Do you want an international audience? Is that important to you? At any given month, there's about 284 million users on it. I will tell you that Delaware Cooperative Extension, the two platforms that we focused on the most initially were Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is the one I think has the most potential for us, only because Facebook pages has become very, very challenging. And here's the key difference between Twitter and what you'll hear about Instagram. The audience on Twitter is extremely diverse and extremely specialized. So it has a lot of your organizations, people that you might be partnering with, NGOs, profit, nonprofit organizations, your libraries, your towns, your cities and state governments. They all have Twitter accounts now. Moms, this is the big demographic. This is the demographic. It's also known as the Oprah Winfrey audience, but it's that demographic about 25 to 40 years of age. Highly engaged on Twitter. They are considered early adopters. They are into social media. They're getting their news from social media. They're not picking up the paper. They're getting it from Twitter. Some people aren't always active Twitterers. They have a Twitter account and they use it as a handheld Reuters news service. That's what they use it for. And we'll get into why Facebook pages. I'm also looking at the comments here, and I'll talk about Facebook a little later. Just remind me. I want to keep going. But your reporters, so if you're trying to get press attention, if you're trying to make sure that your funders, people who are funding you and writing those checks to support your organization, your county councils, your state senators and state representatives, all of your, I think that it's 100% for federal senators and representatives, governors, etc. They are all on Twitter. They have Twitter staff. So to me, that is why I want to be on Twitter, because I want these people to know what we're doing. I want them to know the value of extension, the value of agriculture. Not so many kids. You'll get teens on here, and some teens have accounts, but this is not where they primarily reside. Yeah, follow Twitter. A lot of people, and they use it for different things. Our next two sessions are going to be on Twitter, taught by yours truly. One is going to be Twitter for newbies. I'm going to take you through, I'm going to create a fake business, and I'm going to create an account for it. And I'm going to take you step by step by step on how to create a Twitter account. And then the following session after that is more strategies, how to build followers, how to really make it work for you. So there's two sessions coming up on Twitter. And again, I've only got an hour here, folks, so I'm going to have to go through these sort of quickly just so you have a general overview. Google Plus is Google's answer to Facebook. It had a terrible rollout, never caught quite on, but it has 2.2 billion users. Its main advantage, they don't always use it all the time, its main advantage is it is a Google product. So if you have a page, you can create a business page, you get that benefit of being bumped up in the search engine optimization. The audience on Google is primarily, they say Google employees. That was the big joke, that only people who work for Google were on it. But I find, and I use the term because I use it on myself, are geeks, nerds, IT people, photographers. It's very photo friendly. But it is primarily a foreign platform. There's the largest audience for Google Plus is in Indonesia and India and Vietnam. So some people like it. Again, Google Plus, though, Google has privacy issues. You've got to go on there and make sure, if you have a Gmail account, you have a Google Plus account. You may not have known it. So you want to go in there and check your settings and make sure that, yeah, and what Dee Haslett's saying here, the Google has great integration. The thing it really has going for it, and e-extensions on this a lot, are the communities. So some of the communities of practice are on there. So there's Delaware photographers. You can have communities of just Walking Dead fans if you're a TV fan, or if you're a Beatle fan, you can have, so you have communities just like you would have groups with Facebook, but you have like-minded individuals talking about and exchanging ideas. And of course they have Hangout too, which is a really nice way of communicating and having meetings. So that's Google Plus. And then there's YouTube. I don't know that I have to explain what YouTube is. But I will tell you that YouTube is, it fluctuates between being the actual second and third largest search engine. Some people just go to YouTube now to find out, how do I grow tomato plants? How do I start a raised bed gardening? So this is a competition for us. So extension needs to start thinking about their fact sheets and how they possibly could translate them into something visual. But it's just a terrific content. It's a social media. You can share things directly from with YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you automatically have a YouTube account. You have a YouTube channel. And you can create your own videos, or you can use this word curate. You can pull videos that you like and say, oh, I want these on my channel. So that's what we'll get into that word a little bit more. But YouTube, huge possibilities. When people see that play button on their social media, they want to hit it and they want to play it. The ideal length for a YouTube video is anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. If you're producing a 10-minute YouTube, you're going to see, if you actually look at the statistics, people fall off after a minute or two. But yeah, if you have Gmail, you have a YouTube channel already built in for you, which is pretty interesting. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, anybody here on LinkedIn? You could just type in a Y or an N for yes or for no. LinkedIn is very much a professional platform. It started out, so I wish I could show you, but I have a LinkedIn profile. It's basically your resume, what you do for a living. Some people have had it and gotten rid of it. It has changed a lot. If you've used it 4 or 5 years ago, you'll notice a big difference with it. There's nothing silly on it. People aren't talking about politics or sharing videos of cats and dogs and laughing babies or anything like that. LinkedIn not secure enough. Well, LinkedIn, there are people who try to hack into it, but it is the audience there is professional. It used to be very good for job seekers. I know people who swear by it and say that they've gotten their job because of it. You can network with other people. The other new thing that it does now is you can publish on it. You can actually publish, if you've got a blog or if you have a white paper, you can publish on something that's called Pulse, and other people can read what you write. It helps to build your brand. The Eric Qualman video, this is also, it has groups. This is just a screenshot of some of my groups. I've applied for this one, but I'm on a lot of University of Delaware stuff. I belong to a couple 4-H groups. I belong to Associated Press, different. I'm even a Beatle fan, believe it or not. It's there. And if you go on and on and on, I've joined a lot of the extension groups on here. So you can join. I've recently joined quite a bit of social media nonprofit things. So people in there have discussions. People will pose questions. They will ask what you think. This is Pulse. Now I set my filter to give me information on social media trends. So when people are publishing articles about social media on LinkedIn, I can get those filtered to me, and you can filter those to your interest. But again, these aren't going to be a good fit for everybody, and I'm not suggesting that you go on them. I just wanted you to understand what they are when you see them. LinkedIn it's free. There is a professional. It's rather expensive if you want some premium services on it, but I've not jumped that. Some people found an old friend 20 years ago, so it's sort of like Facebook in that respect. Now Pinterest is very, very powerful. It's got 70 million users. Most of them, and you might have heard this, are women. And it's that Oprah Winfrey audience that's on, and a lot of younger people too. But the big audience, the demographic is 25 to 40. It is fantastic for gardening, for cooking. I joined Pinterest when my daughter got married, well, when my daughter got engaged, and then when she got married, and she was sharing ideas about her wedding, and then when she had her baby, we were sharing ideas about the baby shower. I've kind of just let it go. It's one of these, it's a time management issue for me, that and the fact that the University of Delaware doesn't want us doing it with cooperative extension per se, and so every institution is going to be different, but we have to respect what UD tells us. This is a visual. Think of a bulletin board, and think of you're seeing things, you're flipping through a magazine and you see something you like, you clip it out and you thumbtack it on a bulletin board. This is a virtual version of that. You post things you like. So I just, out of random, I picked this woman named Jen Hellman. I put in gardening, and this is her gardening board. And this is what curation is, and this is one of the things that almost on all social media, if you have a page or a platform, that people are starting to curate other people's contact. So in other words, she obviously is into gardening, and she's picking and choosing different sites, different websites that she sees while she's browsing the internet, and she pins them to her gardening board. So this is just a brief snapshot. It goes on and on. It's quite extensive. So they're coming from all different sources. She's got this from Country Living. She got this from another. So if you've got something on here, if you've got a website for your gardening business, somebody might go, oh, I really like that, and pin it to their board. So that's good advertisement for you. But this is an example of curating. She's not talking about her gardening. She's saying these are things that have impressed me as I've been looking, that I've been on the internet. These are things that I think are valuable to me, and so I'm putting them on my board and I'm sharing them with people. And what this does is, by curating this, just like a museum, if you're a curator of a museum, you decide which paintings you're going to hang on the wall or which artist you're going to feature. She can have, now she doesn't have a very big following, she only has 4 followers, but this is one way. A lot of people, this is great for recipes. If you're dealing with food, you're selling food, you want to show how the different ways that you can prepare those beets or those carrots, you can create a board for that and market that. So it is a marketing technique for your product, and just by creating boards of other people, but you're using other people's content, not necessarily your own content. So yeah, some of these pages are terrific. I really can't say that I'm an expert on it. As I said, this is one of the social media platforms that I just kind of had to say, I can't keep up with it because it's really hard. There's so many out there. Instagram, I'm a new convert to it. I use it all the time. Instagram is taking photographs and putting them up on the internet. It's owned by Facebook. It is free, and brands are using this left and right. So all of your clothing apparel stores, they'll just take pictures of their products and they put them on there. It is very, very hashtag driven, so you do need to know how hashtags work. It is very much, I had about 300 4-Hers at a health meeting, and they interviewed them all and they asked for raise of hands. Who here uses Twitter? Maybe 20 hands went up. Who here uses Instagram? Almost everybody's hand went up. So teens, younger people, this is where they're going. They're taking pictures. The big joke is everybody takes pictures of their food. People take pictures of everything. You can put up 15-second videos. But if you are trying to market to young people, you've got to be on Instagram. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. There's some talk in the industry that this is going to go the way that Facebook did. And getting back to the question about why Facebook is challenging, let's say you have a Facebook page, and our extension page, we have 564 people that like our page. They came to our page and they liked it. So if I put a post on Facebook and I say we're going to have a really great Master Gardener workshop on pruning next Wednesday, come see it, you don't want to miss this, and I hit send or hit post, you would think that those 564 people who liked our page would see that post. Think again. It's not happening. The people who like your Facebook page are not subscribers. Let me repeat that. They are not subscribers. Facebook is filtering, censoring, not delivering most of your content on a Facebook page. This happened about a year ago. Everybody started to watch their insights. They just plummeted. So if I have 1,000 page likes, I'll be lucky if 50, 60 people see it. Why do they do this? They say they only want to give the information that your people are interested in. And we'll have to get into this. I could spend a whole hour, and I will spend a whole hour on how you can work around this. But Facebook essentially wants to monetize. They have monetized. And we're now starting to pay for some of our posts. Oh, you want all of your fans to see your content? Oh, well then you have to pay. And it can be $5 or $10. It's very, very cheap. You can't buy an ad in a paper for less than $200. So it's a very, very good deal, but the bottom line is the people who like your Facebook page, by and large, the vast majority of them are not getting your content. They're not seeing it. Not in their news feeds. They can go to your page anytime they want and see what's going on with you, but they are not getting, and go look at the reach. So if you've got 500 likes on your page, but only 3 or 4 people are commenting on it, so there's a disconnect there. So this is what's happened with Facebook, is they've decided if you've got a page and you want everybody to get your message, you're going to have to pay for it. And the talk is that this is going to happen with commercial brands on Instagram. But Instagram is a wonderful way to advocate. I think extension agents do so many interesting things, pictures of insects, pictures of animals. The key to getting followers on Instagram is to use hashtags. This is one, FarmDE. So when people take pictures, and some of these pictures are mine. The lamb is mine. The poultry inside this poultry house is mine. The solar farm is mine. So when I took these pictures, I used a series of hashtags: FarmDE, solar, poultry, ag, Delaware, things like that. And other people are taking pictures too and using FarmDE. So these aren't all my images. But if you want people to see your content, then you have to put some hashtags at the bottom of the basically to explain what they are. So a sunflower, if you take a picture of a sunflower, you might say flower gardening, sun, yellow, sunflower, petal. So that might be the kind of hashtags you use, because there are people who are out there just looking for pictures of sheep or just looking for pictures of yellow. They collect yellow stuff. I can't explain it. I'm just telling you how it works. And you have to use hashtags with your things with Instagram. But it's a lot of fun, and you can build up followers really well. But it's a great way to advocate positive images for agriculture or agricultural topics. So this is just another way to get your brand out. And you can curate this. If you are say a winery, you could ask when someone buys that bottle of wine off of you, you could say, listen, I'd like to see what you've made to go with this. I'd like to see what meal you've paired this wine with. So you could have a hashtag that you could give them that they could use. Then you could curate that by following that hashtag. So hashtags are very, very important. And we will get into this when we actually talk about how to, we have a session on how to creating a strategic social media plan for your business. And so I'll talk a little bit more about how you actually do that and build your audience. Vine is my new favorite thing. I just created an account about 6 months ago. It is a 6-second video. So this is for those of short attention. Huge teenage following. But a lot of artistic people are using it because you have to be really clever to sell something, or to get selling something. By that I mean selling a message, selling a feeling. It is owned by Twitter, and that's the big advantage here, is that you can create a 6-second Vine, and you can, when you publish it, you can have people following you on Vine, and you follow them, and you can favorite and like things. I don't really care about that. I don't use it for that. I use it because I can take it and simultaneously share it with Twitter, and that will be the only time I will simultaneously share something identical. Will be on Twitter with Vine, because it's just a way of, and I did that with the little eaglets that just got hatched in Hanover, Pennsylvania. I took a couple pictures of that and put it on Vine. But kids are following this, so and they're going to find you by looking at a hashtag. So this is another one where you're going to have to understand how hashtags work. They're key, and I'll explain what those are. So let's just keep going. Snapchat. This is an example of everything I'm telling you today. For those of you who are out in the future, who are watching this in the year 2017, this is 2015. What I'm saying now is out of date. Everything with social media changes. For me to say I'm a social media expert or a guru, you can't be that, because it changes. The landscape changes so rapidly, and Snapchat is one of those. I wasn't even going to feature Snapchat because Snapchat's had a bad rap. Snapchat started with teenagers, and what they could do is you could take a picture of yourself, a selfie. It could be a suggestive picture, which is sort of why it really took off. Send it to your friend. They see the picture, and then the picture disappears. And it could not be saved. So a young girl who thinks she's in love could send a picture that she shouldn't be really putting on the internet. It could be going out there. Turns out, yeah, you can save them. There's programs out there that can save these things. You could just have a second cell phone and save these things. So it also got hacked. This was a platform that easily got hacked, and this was about 6 months ago. All the names and addresses, all the registration information got hacked on it. It has now since changed. Like 3 days ago, now all of a sudden Snapchat's back in. It's popular. Brands are using it. National Geographic, pretty serious brand, is using Snapchat. A lot of retailers. So they're using it. They send out a little video. Kids get it. It stays on their phone for 24 hours and it disappears. Again, it's fleeting, it's temporary. That's the traction of it. I'm not interested in using it. I'm just saying, if you are trying to go out and target young people, you might want to use Snapchat. And so there is a link here, and I've also got it posted on another page. And this whole presentation will be available in a download, but you want to click this. This is Make Use Of, which is a resource site I use a lot, and they just talk about why this is coming on board. You hear this a lot with social media. There was a platform called Ello, E-L-L-O, and it was the new thing, and it was going to come out. It was going to ruin Facebook. And it wasn't going to use any advertising, and it wasn't going to censor anything, and Facebook was shaking in its boots and all of that. Well, it just never happened. So I think your big six aren't going anywhere, and you get these startups that will come and they have a limited attraction, then they go away. But Snapchat has made a resurgence, and I have to confess I don't know much more about it than that. Foursquare and Swarm is now called Swarm. Foursquare is based on geolocation on your phone, and you may not know this, but on your phone, if you're tweeting, you want to check whether or not you're letting people know where you are when you tweet. You might be. When you're taking a picture of your child and you put it up, the geolocation of that photograph might be on there. I think that's kind of an icky privacy thing, personally. But a lot of people, the appeal to Foursquare is that, hey, I'm here at this bagel shop, and your friend is 4 blocks away, sees, oh, Michelle's at that bagel shop. She's real close by. I want to go check her out. So it was meant to tell people, here's where I am right now. To me, it got a little silly. I'm finding out where people are filling up their gas tanks. I really didn't care about that kind of stuff, but the people like to share things. And Foursquare, if you like that, and it's now called Swarm, this kind of tells you where you are at a given moment. This is good for spontaneity. There might be some organizations that maybe want to capitalize on the fact that there's 100 people talking about something really close by. Maybe they can get a flash mob started or something like that. But it's very geolocation, and it depends where you are and how your settings are. This never appealed to me, but it appeals to a lot of people. So it's Foursquare, now called Swarm. Flickr is one of my most favorite platforms. It's not really a social media platform. It is a online storage, 1 terabyte of storage, which is humongous. You can put multiple thousands of photographs. Sussex County 4-H has 15,000 photographs on Flickr, and I don't even think they've used 10% of their storage. Flickr is a way to store your photos. You can lock them up and make them private. What I like about Flickr, and what it's very good with extension is if you name your pictures, and I put here Delaware Farm. So I just Googled Delaware Farm, and almost everybody I know goes to Google to look for an image. Maybe they want to find a picture to put in their book report. You really ought to find out whether or not these are copyrighted. But Flickr will feed into Creative Commons. But if someone's going to is looking for Delaware ice cream, and you have a creamery, are your pictures going to show up in Google search? Do you want them to? I would think you would for your business. So they show up if you've named your photograph. If you have a digital camera, you should all know that when you upload the pictures, the images are DSC 101, DSC 102, DSC 103. That's how they come out of my camera. And I upload them like that. But I will go back in and I will change them to Delaware soybean, Delaware 4-H. I will name them a keyword, because when people look you up on the internet, your pictures are going to show up. No one is ever going to search for DSC 101, but they will search for peaches. They will search for community service or 4-H or Iowa farm or Delaware farm or Indiana poultry. So Flickr has is a very, very big contributor to Creative Commons. You can decide which pictures you would like to be shared. But the other thing I like about Flickr is that it allows a place, if you look at Delaware Cooperative Extension, we have a Flickr account, and on some of the pictures there might be a master gardener doing a workshop, and then right underneath it, it'll say, for more information about Delaware Master Gardeners, click here, and it's a click to our extension site. So it allows you to put a hyperlink to your website. So this can really drive traffic to your website. The analytics tells us that this happens. So it's a way to upload your photographs, back them up, but it depending on how you name your photographs and how you tag them, it can be an enormous search engine driver to your business, to your website. Tumblr, I've tried this. I've gone on it too long, but Tumblr is just a sort of it's a cross between WordPress and Twitter. It's a very popular, it's sort of slacked back off a little bit, but it's just a very easy way to do short blogs and if you like to blog, but WordPress is intimidating for you. Tumblr might be an option for you. So to recap, if you were going to talk about eating donuts, and that was your objective, that's what you want to talk about, and it might be planning herbs or something like that. But for today, eating donuts, and this is a little tongue-in-cheek, and this is a direct lift off my course. I've updated it a little bit. So okay, we're going to eat donuts. How would you integrate this with social media? So let's take a look. On Twitter, I would say, I am eating #donut, and I'm using the slang spelling here for donut for you English majors out there. I know how it's spelled. I am eating a donut. That would be what you would do on Twitter. I like donuts on Facebook. Everything on Facebook is about liking something. This is where I eat donuts. This is Swarm, Foursquare. So you're telling people, I'm right here right now eating this donut. Come find me. Here's a vintage photograph of my donut. Instagram, I didn't mention this, Instagram, when you're uploading these pictures, has all these cool built-in filters to make your picture look like 1965 or 1985, if you like that. You can make your picture look really old. So here's a vintage photograph of my donut. YouTube, watch me eat a donut. And I could say Vine, I didn't put Vine in here, but watch me eat a donut in 6 seconds. LinkedIn, my skills include donut eating, because LinkedIn's all about. Pinterest, here's a donut recipe. So Pinterest, great for a picture of your donut, and here's the recipe on how to make it. I'm now listening to donuts. This could be Pandora, this could be Spotify, this could be Last FM. But people now listen to music and have to tell all their friends that they're listening to the particular song. So that's how that would work. Google Plus, let's hang out and talk about donuts. So that's how you would use it there. You could talk about it. This arrow out of the way. And finally, I ate a donut and disappeared. I wish that were the case. I increase when I eat a donut, but the idea here is you eat something. Snapchat is very fleeting. You send out the message and it goes away. So a little tongue-in-cheek, but a recap of sort of how these platforms work. Some terms and definitions. We'll do this lightning round because I'm running out of time. Social media is the interaction between people creating contact in virtual communities, so we kind of know what that is. Hashtags. Hashtags is a string of letters or numbers preceded by a pound sign. Don't think of it that way. Think of it as a keyword. So if you're going to tweet, I just was at a soil health meeting and I said, I learned that the first 3 inches of soil are the most important, have the most organic material. So I might hashtag soil and soil health or organics. So this is how people, if you're new to Instagram, new to Twitter, people will follow you by virtue of they will search for who else is talking about horses, who else is talking about gardening. So you have to look and know how these work. And the best advice I can give you is to observe, sit back, create a Twitter account, watch how people use them. Don't make up hashtags. Watch how people use them. There are hashtags that will trend if somebody passes away, or Super Bowl will have a hashtag. You can get a lot of exposure if you're using, the same hashtag as other people are using. Tagging something. There's a noun and a verb here. A tag is a label. It's just tagging something. So it's often used in blogs. If I'm going to blog about gardening, I might tag it gardening. I might tag it radishes. If I mention radishes, if I mention corn, I'll tag it corn. So think of keywords, think of labels. Tagging is also a verb in the sense that if I want Shannon Dill to see something I typed on Facebook and I really want her to see it, or on Twitter, I can use her handle or her name and tag her. And if you've been on Facebook, you might have had somebody tag a photograph of you and you go, oh my God, I don't want that to be tagged. You can remove them. But it's a way of tapping somebody on the shoulder. It's very, very effective with Twitter. It's when we were having our Delaware 4-H, we just won on social media 4-H Grown contest. It was a national 4-H social media campaign, and Delaware won it. And what our team did is we, at Governor Markell, at John Carney, we actually tagged our local politicians, said, please, can you retweet this? Can you help us get the word out? So you can tag other organizations and other businesses. It's very, very valuable. It's a good way of being interactive with each other on social media. Paid media is when you pay to have everybody, and we're doing this now, like it or not, we are beginning to boost our posts on Facebook for some very, very important programs that we want to make sure that everybody hears about. And that might cost us $5 or $10, but we will reach thousands of people that way. So it's a way of paying for your post or your ad on social media. Owned media is what you own, your blog, your website, which you totally manage and you totally control the content of. Earned media is something completely different, something that you want to go after. This is when somebody else, not in your organization, talks about you. It talks about you in a good way. This is why it's very good to have an internal hashtag. We use hashtag UDEXT for UD for University of Delaware Extension. Delaware 4-H uses hashtag DE4H. I won't use them in my posts because I'm the generating organization, but I want my 4-Hers to use DE4H when they're doing something cool with their friends at a 4-H camp or a 4-H project. I'll encourage them to use that hashtag because then I can track it. So if you've got a business and you're selling cheese or you're selling wine or you're selling sheep blankets that came from your sheep or whatever it is that you're trying to market, put an internal hashtag on your receipt or on your literature and get people to encourage them to talk about you. And they can also tag you with a handle, but it's wonderful when you get praise and somebody says, oh, that was the best lunch, and they at you and they tag you. So that's earned media. That's when someone else is doing the broadcasting for you, and it's really what you want to go after. Your target audience uses. That's a great question. I'll get to that. I'll get to some of these questions. Shared media is when you publish something on Facebook and then you share it, and you have to and share it to another. YouTube is different because I don't consider YouTube a social media platform as much as it is a place to put content that I'll share to, say, my Facebook page or to my Twitter account. But you really want to be careful with shared media, and I'll get into that in a minute. Curated media is when you as a social media manager are also pulling in not just your content, but you're pulling in other people's content. This is really important. It's very important for extension. It's actually very important for everybody. If you are just out there saying, here's when our workshop is, here's what's on sale, here's what's coming up, and it's always about you and about your website and about making money, that's not a good thing on social media. Of course, you want to push your own content out, but to be respected, to be an authority, think of yourself as a curator. Who else is talking about what you're talking about? And maybe some people are saying it really well or doing something really terrific. And so you might want to share that. I will constantly curate something that is done on eExtension or that Marilyn has done, or so you do it with your friends, but if it's germane to the conversation, if it's important to what you are, and the best example of that is Pinterest. But the social media platforms, the accounts that are really doing well are beginning to curate other people's content and making it part of their conversation. Search engine optimization. If you see SEO, that just means are you doing things on your website that will draw people to your website. One of the biggest mistakes, and you've all seen it, is if you've gone on a web page and it'll say click here, and the click here is the hyperlink. That is like a huge SEO mistake, because when you hyperlink something, you make it searchable on Google. So instead of saying click here, say click here, download this How to Grow Tomatoes fact sheet. How to Grow Tomatoes, and it may be How to Grow Tomatoes fact sheet, should be what's hyperlinked. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the key, the thing here is what the topic is. So you want to hyperlink, download our brochure. That doesn't, what kind of brochure is it? Download this family of food safety, 10 tips for better food safety. That's what should be hyperlinked, because then that becomes searchable. So little tricks like that. Naming different ways that people search for things on the internet. So if your fact sheet is on tomatoes, and you might want to also add tags that say tomatoes, how to grow tomatoes, tomato diseases, tomatoes in containers. So you want to add these descriptions, and there's places to do that on a website, so you'd have to talk to a web developer on how you can do that. Algorithm, this is what Facebook does. Facebook's algorithm is famous. So in so many words, if you go on to the Delaware Cooperative Extension page, and we just posted something about terrarium, say, and if you're getting that on your feed, and you look at it and you go, oh, that's nice, but you move on, you want to see what your cousin's doing or something like that. If you don't interact with my post, my Delaware Extension post, Facebook goes, okay, Bettina, Joanne, Letitia, they really weren't interested in what Delaware Cooperative Extension had to say. And so next time I post, you're not going to get it in your feed. If you want to support, if you want to continue to see content from your pages on your feed, you are going to have to interact with them. You're going to have to like it, comment, or share it, sharing being the best. The more you engage with that content, then Facebook goes, oh, Michelle's really interested in that content. We're going to keep giving it to her. But if you do nothing with that content, you just kind of smile and look at it and want to see what's going on CNN, then Facebook will calculate that you're not interested in it and remove it from your feed. This is what's happening. This is what the challenge is. So that's what the algorithm does. Your avatar, again, just we have a brand standard at our university, and our logo appears in the bottom corner, but this logo here of Extension is the same one we use on Twitter, is the same one we use on Facebook, it's the same one we use on Flickr. You want to repeat your brand, you want to repeat your logo, and this is called an avatar. So it's a good idea to be consistent with that, because it just helps to establish the brand. You all know what the word viral means. The biggest example of that is the dress that came out, and there's no way to predict when something goes viral. There's just no way. It can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing, but that's what it means when something just gets shared quickly. Reach is the number of people online who were exposed to your content. That's great. That's the potential, but it doesn't really mean anything. What means something and what can be measured and what extension agents would be interested in is the rate of how people interacted with this. And when by interacting is, did they share it? Did they comment? Did they like it? Did they repin it? Did they put it on their post? That's the big objective with social media, is to get people to engage with your content. I'm running out of time. Just Pew Internet Research has some wonderful stats, but 74% of adults are now on social media. The more interesting, Facebook is still, I don't care what anybody says, it's still the big one to go after. But again, the pages are going to be challenging now. What's interesting, and this is what's important for those of you in extension listening in, we've all heard about reasonable effort. We have to use all reasonable effort to reach our audiences. And that's been sending out postcards in the past and sending out direct mail. But younger people and people of different ethnicities aren't going to the local papers anymore. They're using their cell phones. So this is a legitimate reason why you want to use social media, because this is where your younger and more diverse audiences are. We've got to go where they are. So that's the big takeaway from here. And again, this is a demographic, and I expect that these demographics are going to continue to slide this way. But this just shows some diversity, some ethnic backgrounds, and some statistics on who's using the different platforms and why. Not by age here, but by ethnicity. And so you can see Instagram is huge. Twitter are the two that would be, if you're trying to attract a more diverse audience, those might be the ones you want to go after. And the other thing, and then we're almost wrapping up here, there are two approaches. One is to pick one or two platforms, learn them really well. It's much better for your time management that way, but it limits your reach. So, and it's more comfortable if you're totally new to social media. This is what we started out with Cooperative Extension. We picked Twitter and Facebook, and content-wise, we concentrated on YouTube. But there is a growing advocacy now for going with a shotgun approach. Put it out everywhere. Well, that's all well and good, but who's going to do all this work? So it becomes a huge time management. And you cannot, the one thing you don't want to do is, let me just back up. You want to avoid this. You want to avoid connecting your accounts where you post it one place and it puts the exact content across the different platforms. It's easier. It is considered a social media no-no. It's considered by experts to be a lazy way of doing social media. You know, if you can't go on all of them, pick the one or two where you think you can best reach a new audience or attract a new audience. Backing up, how should you proceed? You want to define your target audience. My advice is to select two platforms that reach that audience. And somebody asked, well, how do I know? Teenagers are going to be on Instagram. They're going to be on Vine. They're going to be, to a lesser degree, on Twitter. If you're trying to get more press coverage, if you're trying to get organizational support, trying to get new partners, you're going to definitely want to go on Twitter. Facebook's going to be your mom and your grandmom. I mean, but the thing is you need to get a page. So we're going to talk about, again, Facebook pages in October in detail. You're going to, my advice is to study how similar organizations or businesses of yours are using social media. They're all using them a little bit differently, so you want to kind of look at the ones that seem to be doing it well. Look for their engagement rates, the number of followers they have. Are people commenting on their posts? Because if they're not doing that, then they're not really engaging. Something's missing. So this is the challenge, particularly with Facebook. And then you want to create a business plan for your business or organization. That would involve a needs assessment. Okay, what is my company doing now? What could it be doing? How am I going to implement that? Who's going to do this work? How many times should I post? Can I repeat? How should my content be different? So this is what we're going to go over on in May 13th, creating a strategic social media plan for your business. We will go over this in detail. Identify who in your organization is going to serve as the people that are going to be doing this work. Who's going to be doing the posting? It can be a time suck. It can be a giant time suck. So you have to, you want to do it smart. There are tools where you can schedule things ahead, like Hootsuite, TweetDeck. I have a little bit of a problem with some of those, particularly with Facebook. Facebook is minimizing the content now with this stuff. Facebook is just becoming a prima donna in so many words. It wants to be the one to deliver your video. It wants to be the one to deliver your photographs and to deliver your news. It doesn't want you putting in things from YouTube or Hootsuite or Flickr. If you do, it'll deliver it, but it's going to minimize it. And so it's really, they've changed their rules quite a bit. So that's the challenge there. And you want to study your analytics. Where are your followers coming from? Who are they? If you've got a Facebook page, you have insights. So are they male? Are they women? What kind of age group are they? And are people engaging with your content? That is the number one rule for being able to measure success.
Thank you for watching our archived presentation of our Wednesday webinar. If you would like to see more archived Wednesday webinars, please visit our YouTube channel, or to find a schedule of upcoming live webinars, visit our website.